My technical title is field manager.
Field manager, there
Yeah.
it is.
And so what that means is I work very closely with Trent, our kind of lead farmer, and we do a lot of the planning on what's going to go in the field, when it's going to go in, taking care and managing those crops all the way through it's time to harvest, and then getting them out of the field.
So the owner of the farm is Trent Thompson, Ruthie Thompson. When did this start?
Yeah, so they started farming on another parcel of land in 2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So right at the height of the recession, which is an interesting time to start a business.
Yeah.
And then they moved to their new farm in roughly 2000, I believe 13, 14, where we are now. And it was just Trent, kind of working his butt off, doing the 16-hour days.
Yeah.
And now it's grown into what it is now. We're on a 20-acre plot of land. We farm 10 of it. We have roughly 3/4 of an acre under hoop house. We are a wedding venue.
Right.
And we are an on-farm store as well. And then, of course, we distribute both wholesale and retail.
And this is all kind of over near the casino area?
Yeah, so we're at 14201 H Drive North. So the casino exit.
Okay.
Yeah, you head right up past those truck stops, take a right, and we're about 3 miles east.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I know where you mean. So, organic farming. Obviously, you go in the store now. There's a pretty big section in almost any store with organic produce or non-organic produce. And you went to Michigan State, studied this stuff.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, what's organic and what's not, and are there different shades of organic? Are there people who are pushing stuff as organic where it's not? I mean, what's the deal?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think organic, I primarily think of soil first farming. So ecological farming, where the idea or philosophy behind it is that the soil is what is going to produce healthy, vigorous crops. And then the other thing that I think most people are familiar with is we primarily get away from using synthetic-based fertilizers or herbicides on our crops. There's a common kind of mistake or misunderstanding that we don't spray. So oftentimes we will hear even our biggest fans kind of assume like, oh, you're a no-spray farm, like we're happy to hear it. But that's not what that means. Oftentimes they are different sprays, or if they are the same, they'll be derived differently, so you're not getting a fossil fuel base or acid waste product at the end.
I see. Okay.
Yep. And then it's system-based, so say you raise cattle. In order for your cattle to be certified organic, you would need to also purchase any feed or anything that animal will interact with as organic as well.
And when you say certified, does that mean there are people who are inspecting certain farms and saying, yep, you're using the right stuff, here you go?
Yeah, so the USDA has this general rule of organic, but what there are several agencies across the country that have people that will come out to your farm as certifiers, and they're checking your documents. And organic has very rigorous documentation, so if we need to spray for a pest, we have to document everything that we do, including the exact bed in our fields. And on our farm we have 120 plus beds, so we would know the exact place that a crop went, where it was sprayed, what time it was sprayed, time of day.
So you have to keep pretty good records. You can't just do the work.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got to document everything.
Everything's documented. When you buy in seed, all of your seed is documented as organic. If you can't find organic seed, you have to document so many attempts to find it organically. And then, as you had asked before, I think in Michigan, especially and in Southwest Michigan, there is another shade of organic, which is non-certified organic, which is actually what we are. We are not USDA certified.
Okay.
So we use all of our product is what is known as OMRI approved, which stands for Organic Materials Review Institute. And so that has been approved by this board. So anything we bring in, all of our practices that we use are organic, but we just haven't gone through the process of getting that certification. Part of that reason is cost and time management, and then another is, especially in Southwest Michigan, there's this emphasis on community and knowing your farmer, and I think a lot of our customers really take pride in knowing who we are and asking us questions and being involved, being on farm. So they trust us, they know what's going into the field, so we don't need to do that extra step yet. And we just don't see quite the wholesale accounts yet in this area demanding or asking for certified organic from us.
Give me an example too of like how you might approach a problem like hornworms on tomatoes. How do you approach that problem? There are a lot of different treatments, but obviously, you're going to have to try to use something that's going to keep your organic status.
Yep. So, one, we're going to monitor those crops. So when we start to see it, we're looking for the damage on the top of the plants, and
the poop on the ground.
Right, and we're hoping that we're cultivating an environment in which we're seeing some of these parasitic wasps and other beneficial insects that can help us sort of take care of that problem. So whether that's having, thicker grasses that these insects tend to live in, things like that around. But obviously at some point that's just not going to be enough.
Right.
So we do have certain sprays like Serenade, or BT, which are biologicals, and
oh yeah, BT. Yeah, I've used that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So and BT is both an organic and a conventional spray. How they're derived is slightly different, but it would be the same way. We would spray and treat those. And the organic sprays generally both photodegrade quicker and react to rain quicker. So every time, especially in a season like this where it's been very challenging and very wet, if we spray, it'll rain, and that's immediately off the crop.
Yeah, that's tough, and that kind of brings me to another question I wanted to ask you. It's been a challenging year for all farmers. Has it been more so or less so for people in organic farming, do you think?
Man, I don't think that it's been, like you mentioned, it hasn't been easy for any type of farming, but I do think we've benefited a little bit in our style of farming. I don't know that this so much has to do with organic. I think when it comes to things like spraying, or one of our common pest controls is to actually take a powdered clay that we sprinkle on top of the leaves, and that washes off. So in terms of keeping like any type of preventative treatments on the plants themselves, I think that has been challenging, but we haven't seen the struggle that is conventional, especially the large scale.
You're trying to even find a way to get your crop in.
Right. I think they have a hard time because they have a specific window they need to meet. And on our farm, because we're always doing succession planting and rotations, we just need small windows to get maybe 3 beds or 4 beds in at a time. And we've kind of lucked out. And one of those reasons is that Trent lives on farm. So it can be 8 p.m. and he can go out there. If we get just a window enough, the soil's dried out, he can get out there and till that up. So I feel like from a crop standpoint, we've been able to get our crop in, and what's in is currently loving the weather.
Yeah. You mentioned too you've got hoop houses. How many acres did you say?
We are at about 3/4 of an acre. That's kind of some quick napkin math, but we have five of them are 30 by 150, and then 5 other ones are 20 by 140.
And how are those commonly used in an operation, like Green Gardens Farm? I mean, are they used to start plants, or are there certain things that you just grow in there from start to finish?
Yeah, usually we're transplanting in them. We will grow things from start to finish, but we actually have a designated hoop house on farm that's slightly smaller that we will heat starting in February.
Okay.
And that helps us get our tomatoes, onions, early season crops that need a lot of time up and going so that we can transplant them into those houses. Where we've seen the most benefit is the tomatoes love them. They want that tropical heat.
Oh,
Our
yeah.
sweet potatoes, ginger, things like that really thrive in those environments. They're all passively heated, so we don't have any like type of propane or gas heating going on in there. We're just relying on the sun kind of all winter, and we will keep crops in them all winter. So we'll have greens, kale, spinach.
We're talking with Derek Flint, field manager over at the Green Gardens Farm over near the casino in Marshall. And, there are several different kind of organic farmers in the area. I think maybe you might be one of the bigger ones. But, how do you make a buck? How do you get your products to people? We talked with Jeremy Andrews recently from Sprout Urban, no longer Sprout Urban Farms, just Sprout. And they kind of have a deal where you call up and you order what you want and they get you a box. And you guys are doing that too, and you're kind of linked with Sprout and a lot of other area farmers and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think of us as a pretty typical Midwest operation, where a lot of times when we think organic, and if you're familiar with the organic world, we think of the coast. We think of kind of California, we think of big cities. And it's easy for them to demand 2 to 3 times the price for the product. So one thing I like about Midwest farmers is they have to be a little more clever, a little more scrappy, and usually have a more diverse business plan. So we have several things going on, like you mentioned the Sprout Box. We sell produce to Sprout for the Sprout Box, and then this year we have a kind of brand new program called the Green Box, and it is very similar. So it is a subscription-based custom order box. So that produce is coming out of our field, and then to kind of round out your grocery shopping experience, we are partnering with several other local farms and a couple of like the Valley Hub out of Kalamazoo Valley Community College to put together this full grocery experience. So you can get your breads, your dairy, your eggs, your meats, along with your vegetables all in this box. And then we deliver that to roughly 9 locations between Marshall, Battle Creek, and Kalamazoo.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. Or we could also get them at your farm.
Yeah, so Monday and Tuesday, we are open from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. You can stop out on the farm and any local produce that we've got. We'll have a farm stand there, and someone's always up there ready to greet people.
So if I ordered a box and I wanted, I don't know, romaine lettuce, I mean, would you literally look at that order and then go out in the field and harvest a romaine lettuce and stick it in there?
Yeah, that is the general idea. We're fortunate enough today to have software technology that can handle that. So your ordering would be online. And then we get a kind of a master sheet of everyone's orders at one time so that we can go out and efficiently do hopefully just one harvest and bring it in either the day before or morning of and pack your box.
That is really cool. And I was thinking, how would I use this? I've got a garden, but I'm struggling with my garden this year, and there are going to be certain things that aren't going to make it. I could just call and put together an order for the things that either I elected not to grow or stuff that just didn't grow, and just supplement the vegetables that I'm growing, or just order the stuff I like. And it sounds like a really kind of neat concept for healthier eating and better eating. And so any way that we can support the community here, I think it's a great idea. So if you have other ideas, or if people listening have ideas for Food City, let us know, and we'll talk to people in our community that are, trying to make a difference here in food and agriculture in our community. Next week we may get away from the vegetarian things before the 4th of July cookout, and we may be talking about bratwurst here next week. But Derek Flint, it's really great to have you in, talk a little bit about and sharing your passion, for growing healthy food and green gardens. Now, there's a website we can find out more, order the stuff, do all that stuff, right?
Yep. If you visit greengardensfarm.com.
That's pretty easy. Green Gardens Farm. There's no hard to spell words in there at all. Greengardensfarm.com, and you can look at the team, look at the operation, even find out more about the wedding part of the business there.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year actually 2 years ago we started, and then we've officially been rolling out for the last 2 or 3 years. We're booked out, I believe, through 2020. So, but
Wow.
yeah, it's an exciting kind of new operation. I recommend come check it out and see the venue. It's beautiful.
We will. Derek Flint, again, thank you very much for being with us here on Food City.
Thank you.